then a year later, when I stood up to Ray Halberter in 2013 for the activities that he was involved with, and here's a guy who is forcibly, served 20,000 landowners in Oneida and Madison County with eviction notices, is trying to remove my client, Melvin Phillips, a full-blooded Oneida Indian, off of his own land. There's video footage of him crowbarring open the door and dragging his own cousin off of her trailer in the Oneida properties, throwing her in jail down in Pennsylvania. I mean, this is a guy who...
I get it, Claudia. We're getting off topic, though. I want to ask you, we're talking about the memo.
We're not off topic because we're talking about...
We are off topic. We're talking
about activity that is intimidating. And do I think that Ray Halberter would actually come after me personally? No. But right after that incident, people came up to me and said, and people that were former employees of Turning Stone, people who are current employees, people who are close to him said, he's not going to do anything, but you have to be careful. These people have activity. I mean, Halberter is implicated in they've said, it hasn't been ruled out. I really don't know the facts. They've tried to determine them in the murder of Tammy Mahoney up at the Turning Stone, the campaign. I mean, I'm just saying,
I'm saying we're off track. Again, it has nothing to do with the memo. Where did this prompt the memo to come out from? And did you name your opponent in the memo? And who pens the memo? Who puts it out? I don't understand. With
all due respect, Jay, you're asking me why my staff felt uncomfortable reading and knowing the history.
Right, and we didn't. I don't think we got an answer.
Exactly, which is why I have a history of standing up to people who are the most powerful in our community and in our state. We are in an environment that's very corrupt in New York State. We have an environment that's corrupt in Utica in many cases in our region. I've stood up to these people, and I've had a year and a half of people at my house intimidating me, my business, my staffers at our campaign office. The tires were slashed on one of my campaigns. He had Claudia stickers all over his car. If you've seen some of the death threats I've received, the comments and what has been put on Facebook about me, the pictures, and then we're in a situation where, the media is not calling out. I mean, my opponent is sitting there talking about his campaign and all the things, the money I'm taking from people who are so-called dirty Washington interests, and his biggest donor and his mentor, who he's describing his father as, he's running ads based on, who my donors are. I think it's fair that the media look into his donors and the way that I've been intimidated and my staff has been intimidated. And quite honestly, Jay, if you are a single person and you're living alone as a woman in my house, and I've got cars in front of my driveway, I've got my neighbor across the street whose husband died 2 years ago, and she's alone in her house, and there's a lot of seniors in my street, and there's suspicious cars parked in front of my driveway all the time and taking video of me. And these things are happening. I go to parades or I go to events, and these things are happening. My staff is concerned.
That's understandable, and I get that. And that's why I wanted to ask what prompted the memo. And you know this, Claudia. I've covered this. We've had conversations.
I'm at here I am. I'm at like a routine ribbon cutting, and there's Andy Brindisi taking pictures of me.
Well, I remember one morning when you were visibly shaken, and I spoke to you, and this was right after something that took place in Albany when you were an assembly rep, and had to do with education. And I know you were fearful then, and there were other female representatives that were fearful then for some of the threats you were getting. And I know how real and how much that bothered you and that troubled you at that time. So I don't discredit that.
It's not so much about me, Rocco, or Jay. It's not really about me. It's about all these things happening and my staff feeling that there's a lot of intimidation, there's a lot of aggressiveness, there's a lot of people who have come to us. Quite honestly, there are people who have been coming to me ever since Anthony announced, who have said, you got to be careful. This family has a history. Do I worry about it, me personally, or Anthony? No. And I've said that. The newspaper called me, and I said, no, I don't. I know Anthony. I've worked with him, but the analogy I'm making is, was I worried about actually Ray Halberter or Sheldon Silver? No. But this is an aggressive environment. There are people out there.
Claudia, let me interrupt you because there's two big unanswered questions this morning. Number one is, who wrote that memo?
My campaign staff. It was probably my campaign. I saw it actually.
You didn't write. Do you know? I mean, you don't have to say who, but do you know which member of your staff wrote it?
I'm guessing our campaign, I believe Tim, my campaign manager or campaign consultant wrote it. And it was because a lot of people in my staff were getting worried. Like, and you know, when you make by the way, my campaign manager is Rachel Renna. She has been concerned about some of the way that the aggressiveness, all of my staff have been concerned about the aggressiveness of the other side. And they put that out because of the cars that are in front of our office, the way that I am, you know, my trackers are really aggressive.
Let me ask about these trackers, Claudia. Just a minute, Claudia. You said there's a car, a black van or in front of your vehicle, or a black vehicle in front of your house.
There's a black
regularly.
Jeep.
A Jeep.
Yes.
Have you called the police?
Yes.
What has happened? What has happened with respect to the police? You're talking about in Albany or in New Hartford? Where's
we notify the Capitol Police because then they work it through. They go through, and so because of that, the town of New Hartford, the town of New Hartford always they have extra cars coming up my street, and because my people on my street are concerned about it. When I'm in a parade, the city of Utica, the county sheriffs, or when I do public events, people are always, they're concerned. I mean, they've been in contact with the police in case something should happen.
Well, we know that stalking is a crime. I just want to follow up on this. The stalking is a crime. You have called the police on this black Jeep that's in front of your vehicle. Has that person been confronted and identified by the police, if you know?
I have no idea. I don't know. I mean, but the issue is this. Let's go back to talking about my opponent has run a campaign about somehow my donors are terrible people. I've raised taxes. I'm taking money from Spectrum, which I haven't. I mean, I'm somehow influencing the rates and raising rates on seniors. I'm somehow raising taxes. I'm taking money from all these special interests. I'm polluting the water, dirty air, dirty water, all this stuff. And nobody's looking at his donors. No media has looked at who his donors are. And I think it's fair game. And I think that people need to look at that. And I think that, honestly, if you look at the way that this campaign, it is much more aggressive than the campaign that I had in 2016. The trackers are much more aggressive. I don't know who this person is in the black Jeep and some of the other cars, but I actually had a donor at the Capitol, and this has nothing to do with home, grab my car door, and I caught some of it on video, and I put it on my Facebook page.
Yeah.
But, you know, this is every day. I tried to go to Speedy Fest, which is in Binghamton. Every event I go to, if I'm out in public and they know I'm there, they videotape me 5-10 feet away from me. So you can't even talk to me. It's a kind of intimidation that prevents me from being able to even talk to people. When I showed up at county fairs or the field days, the Resist movement sends out this APB, Claudia Tenney's at Johnson City, Claudia Tenney's at Gusto and Binghamton, and, you know, like, go get her, you know, like, and I have to, like, they come up and they confront me and they intimidate me and they scream stuff at me. And this has been going on. This did not happen to me in 2016, to be honest with you. And I'm not sure why, but it is much more aggressive than it's ever been. And I just think fair game. Look at everybody's donors. We got to get back to this thing. Why? You know, there's a radical resist movement, which I don't believe these are normal. I mean, I don't think these are normal everyday people. I think some of them are activists that are really, really on the far left. But I think, you know, Anthony gets out every single day. He does his press conferences, and he's lying about me, saying that he writes these lists. I'm taking money from all these donors. I'm doing all this stuff. People donate to me because they like what I stand for, cutting taxes, reducing regulations, empowering small businesses, helping family farms, and to somehow align me with some kind of Washington interest group when I have been the one person who stood up to the most corrupt people in our communities. What was he doing? He had Sheldon Silver fund his campaign. He stood up. He did not stand up to Sheldon Silver. In fact, the Utica OD ran an article back in 2015. Elizabeth Cooper wrote it, saying the very last person to stand up to Sheldon Silver in our community was Anthony Brindisi, and he could not be reached for comment.
Claudia, we got to take a break here for 1 second. We're going to come back, and I want to talk about an event that you were at, and apparently your opponent wasn't at. We'll get your take on that as well. 7:53 on the Talk of the Town. Stay tuned. CBS, the Money Watch, the AM report coming up right here.
CBS.